Okay, so now recording has started. Okay, so we about to complete our unit number 1, that is Introduction to Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning. So we already covered the fundamental definition of artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science. Then we discuss history of AI, then need of AI in mechanical engineering and applications of AI in various domains. We also discuss the various aspects like reasoning, problem solving, knowledge presentation, and so on. And yesterday we completed approaches to machine learning. In that, we discussed supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning, and semi supervised learning as well. And today we will be discussing approaches to AI, and that would be the last point of the unit number 1. Okay, so we will go directly to that point. Okay, so in this particular session, we will be discussing different approaches to AI. In that, we will cover cybernetics, what is brain simulation, then symbolic approach, sub-symbolic approach, and statistical approach. So, when we were discussing these points, we will discuss in historical evolvement perspective. For example, when we were very young and we were kid, then at that time our teaching learning approach was different. And we when we entered into the school or high school or colleges, the way of teaching learning changes. जसं की तुम्हाला माहित आहे की जेव्हा तुम्ही लहान होता, मे बी तुमच्यातल्या बऱ्याच जणांनी पाटी आणि पेन्सिल वापरला असाल स्टडीसाठी. तर त्याच्यामध्ये पाटी आणि पेन्सिलमध्ये लिमिटेशन्स काय होते, की एकदा तुम्ही लिहिलं आणि ते पुसलं की डेटा काय व्हायचा, सगळा इरेज होऊन जायचा. मग त्यानंतर मॉडिफिकेशन काय आलं, की नोटबुक, राईट. नोटबुकमध्ये लिहून ठेवलं की जुनं जे लिहिलेलं आहे ते तुम्ही रिकॉल करू शकता, पुन्हा चेक करू शकता. यू कॅन शो इट टू युअर टीचर अँड गेट इट व्हेरीफाईड ऑर गेट सम इनपुट. त्यानंतर ज्यावेळी तुम्ही कॉलेजमध्ये आला, हळूहळू तुम्हाला लॅबोरेटरीचं एक्सपोजर भेटायला लागलं, काही तुम्ही एक्सपेरिमेंट तुम्ही करायला लागला. त्यानंतर पुन्हा कॉलेजेसमध्ये जसं आता आपलं ऑनलाईन टीचिंग लर्निंग चालू आहे, काही वेळा चॉक बोर्डवरती चालतं, काही वेळा प्रेझेंटेशन म्हणजे पीपीटी तयार करून टीचिंग लर्निंग होतं, आणि आता ऑनलाईनमध्ये आपण स्क्रीन शेअरिंग करून करतो. तर गेल्या 10-15 वर्षामध्ये खूप सारं टीचिंग लर्निंगमध्ये आपण इव्हॉल्व झालेलं आपण बघतो आणि नवनवीन टूल्स अँड टेक्निक्स बघायला मिळतात. फॉर एक्झाम्पल, एखादी खूप सारी ऑटोमोबाईलची कॉम्प्लिकेटेड डायग्राम असेल, तर बोर्डवरती ड्रॉ करणं दॅट दॅट इज नॉट अ व्हेरी गुड आयडिया, राईट? So instead of that, pick that picture from the internet, put on your presentation, and you can display that this is a particular layout of a automobile, and these are the various components. So you save the time that previously you were investing for drawing the picture of automobile on the board. So that part we try to eliminate. So this is the slowly the evolvement. Again, due to this online teaching learning mode, what additional advantage we receive, that we can record the session so that somebody if miss a class, after the class he can watch the video and he will come to know what was discussed in the previous classes. So there are so many development occurred in the teaching learning process, and similarly there are developments took place in the approaches in artificial intelligence. So that we will discuss today. So when we talk about approaches to artificial intelligence, there are so many approaches to AI, and practically it is very difficult to classify approaches of AI into various subdomains, because over the period of time there is no well established paradigm of AI research. And on particular approach, some of the researchers are agree, and some of the research area where researchers are not at all agree. and therefore there are so many questions are there, and because of that we engineer are not in a position to properly classify the AI approaches, and there are so many unsolved questions as well. For example, we may say that is there any relationship between biology of birds and aeronautics? Okay, so generally the way the birds fly in the air, generally we try to correlate with the aeroplane, okay, based on the analogy, and we will say that the way bird flies, that idea we engineer picked up and developed the aeroplane. So some of the group of scientists say yes, we agreed with it, and some of the groups say we are not agree. So some scientists think that it is same as AI. That is, we are just trying to mimic the behavior of the bird and try to develop the aeroplane. But some also thinks that understanding of all human behavior or animal behavior cannot be mimicked, or uh, artificial intelligence model for those behavior cannot be predicted. For example, generally if we do some mistake, then we generally try to hide the same and we started lying, and this is actually a different kind of behavior, means we did something but we are actually telling something, so that is a contradictory behavior. So many people think that is it possible to model such type of contradictory behavior with the help of artificial intelligence? Yeah, that could be a question. Then there are so many other questions. So how relevant research in neurology and psychology is to research in AI and machine learning? So this is again one thing, and another thing, and we will take one example, right? So if we touch our fingers to a hot surface, so generally what we do, quickly we take away our hand from that hot body. So when we touch, our neurons generate some signal, that signals will be sent to your brain, and in the brain the process is carried out. It understood what kind of inputs we received, and the brain concluded it is dangerous and it will damage some of the part of your finger, so it is better to take away your finger from the hand. So this is how that process takes place, and we take our hand away from that hot body. So similarly, is it possible to mimic the or develop a AI system which can take such kind of decision in a very short time? Because within a fraction of second, we take our hand back from the away from the hot body. So that time is very short, and in that very small time, all the information is collected, it is processed, the decision is made, and action physical movements are also seen. Again, can intelligent behavior be described using simple elegant principles? So that could be another question, because y is equal to a plus bx is a very simple equation that we can develop in regression, right? So if we know the value of x and corresponding value of y, then what we do, we apply the principle of least square regression, we calculate the value of a and b, and once we get it, our equation will be ready, and for any value of x we can calculate the value of y. So just a minute. Okay, so developing such type of equation y is equal to a plus bx is quite simple, but just we discuss the example where when we touch the hot body, then the information is received, processed, and decision is made, and that all the process completed in very short time. So is it possible for us to develop such kind of AI based system? So that is again a big question. And does it necessarily require solving a large number of completely unrelated problem? So generally we try to correlate different things. So 100 years back or 200 years back, if somebody thought that the behavior of the bird can be mimicked and we can develop a aeroplane, then 200 years back somebody think you are fool, it is not practically possible. But today it is possible, so such type of questions may arise. Again, can intelligence be reproduced using high level symbols or similar to words and ideas, or does it require sub symbolic processing? So in this particular session we will be discussing what is symbolic approach, what is sub symbolic approach, and how historically the philosophy of AI or approaches of AI evolved over the period of time. Again, the approaches of AI can be classified into four groups. So when you look at the literature or if you search online approaches to AI, you will see there are so many approaches developed over the period of time. In 1950, from 1950 today, so many approaches are there. But when we go through all those approaches, we can say that initially in 1950s, the first approach, that is cybernetics and brain simulation approach, started. But over the period of time, in 1 or 2 decades, it is observed that it is very difficult to simulate. So the focus is shifted to symbolic approach. Then again, some of the limitations observed with symbolic approach, so it is observed that there is a need of going to some symbolic approach. And especially in last 2-3 decades, we are focusing more on statistical approaches, where whatever behavior or parametric study is there, that needs to be assessed and expressed in terms of some number, right? For example, if you have a large data set, for example, you want to manufacture a shaft of 20 millimeter diameter, right? So if you want to manufacture that shaft on a CNC lathe machine, so every time the CNC lathe machine will not manufacture the shaft with a diameter 20 millimeter. It could be 19.95 millimeter, it could be 20.01 millimeter. So some positive and negative values would be there, but all these shaft diameters will be very close to 20 millimeter. And with the help of statistical approach, what would we can do, we can plot its distribution. Okay, we are expecting 20 millimeter, but exactly we will not get 20 millimeter. There will be some positive values, there will be some negative values. So based on the distribution, we can identify the performance of the machine, right? So this is another approach. Again, by taking the average of all the shaft diameters, we can calculate the what is the mean diameter of the shaft for a given lot. And in order to predict the spread of the distribution, that from the mean how the data is spread, right? So that is expressed as a standard deviation. So the first three approaches, cybernetics, brain simulation, symbolic and some symbolic approaches, they are used for simulating purpose or presentation purpose. And the application of statistical approach help to quantify the effectiveness of that systems or those approaches. So this is how the approaches of AI evolved from 1950s to till date. And along with that, today when we talk about the modern systems, so you may come up with, or you may say that the modern approaches, there is a use of symbolic plus some symbolic plus statistical approach for a given system, so it will become a hybrid approach. So What we will do, we will try to discuss from historical perspective one by one, and then we will see how hybrid approaches are evolved. So, as we already discussed, when we talk about AI, then it is primarily concerned with making computer mimic of intelligent behavior, right? For example, pick and place operation. So it is just a mimicking the operation. Then, when we talk about cybernetics, it is broadly encompasses the study of how systems regulate themselves. So this part is very important, because picking the component from one place and placing at other place is simple, but how that is regulated very smoothly and maintained over a long period of time, and what would be its accuracy, that regulating study is very important. That is a part of cybernetics. And based on the feedback received, what type of actions are taken and how it is executed. Just like the example of when we touch the hot body, immediately we take action based on the feedback that we should take away our hand from the hot body. So that inner mechanism, that regulation, especially based on the feedback system, that is, that studies comes under cybernetics. And this such type of approaches were evolved in 1940s and 50s, and at different universities and research institutes the research was started, and especially it was focusing on the three domains. First one is neurology, second one is information theory, and third one is cybernetics. So that combined approach are started developing in those decades, and the ultimate goal was to check whether can we build a hardware that simulate the neurological processes. So that was the ultimate goal, and you can see that so many scientists started their research at different universities. Even in those decades, there were some conferences in which such discussions started. But over 2 decades, what is observed in 1940s, 50s, or even early 60s, whatever equipments or hardware required for simulating the brain or simulating the behavior and identifying the neurological processes are costlier, or the components are not available, and therefore slowly people started going away from the brain simulation in those decades because of the unavailability of the resources, especially the equipment and the component. But today in 21st century, again we are going back to cybernetics and brain simulation. So what we see from this, the approach of cybernetics is to understand the fundamental behavior of human, especially how it acts on a given system. And the research focuses on can we simulate artificially, and this thought process evolved in 1940s and 50s, but due to unavailability of the hardware and components, or cost of such project was very high, so researchers started going away from it. But again in 21st century, whatever you imagine you can create, and again the funds are also available, so again people started working on cybernetics and brain simulation. Okay, so the approach of cybernetics and brain simulation was to developing the hardware. So it was difficult. So people started thinking that instead of simulating the behavior by using hardware, can we develop such a behavior on systems? Especially the era of computer started, and slowly the computers were started developing and using in various laboratories. So for example, instead of male and female, we use symbols, and such models can be prepared. So instead of actual components, the symbols are used, and they are used for developing different models. For example, solar panel is there. So instead of actual solar panel, symbols are used. Then it will collect this, receive the solar energy, and it will convert into electrical energy. Then the output of the electrical energy will be given to the inverter. The inverter will convert the DC into AC, and the power will be supplied to the destination. So here actually there is no real solar panel, or there is no real cable or inverter and other components. So it is just a simulation on the system by using the symbols. So a particular symbol will be given to solar panel, a particular symbol will be given to inverter, and so on. So symbolic AI refers to the fact that all steps are based on symbolic human readable representation of the problem that use logic and solve the problem. Okay, just like we prepared algorithms for solving various problems. For example, solving the simultaneous equations. What we did, we first of all solved the problem, then we prepared its flowchart. So while preparing the flowchart, we use different symbols, and each symbol will have its own meaning, and we connected all these symbols in a logical way. So symbolic approach should be such that human can easily understand the meaning of the symbols. Again, while using those symbols should be connected with a good logic, and the ultimate goal is to solve the problem. Then symbolists firmly believe that the intelligent system based on rules and knowledge are good to explain the system. So one of the approach is knowledge representation. So instead of writing a theoretically part, if we go for using symbols, then whatever presentation we prepare, it will be self-explanatory, or it is understandable. So the knowledge can be easily percolated through symbols. And as I already mentioned that in 1950s, digital computers were started developing and using at various places, and that simplified and that give more emphasis on using the symbolic representation. So this is one of the important technological development occurred in 1950s, and therefore the people started mimicking the human intelligence with some symbolical approach. And again, you can see there are different universities, C. Mellon University, Stanford, and MIT. At those universities, the research started. And the very interesting thing was, at the different universities, they use their own style, own approaches to solve the problem or mimicking the human behavior. Again, during 1960s, the symbolic approach had achieved great success at simulating high-level thinking in small demonstration programs. So just like a computer game. So today we see and we enjoy playing computer games. So similar research started, and the thought process is simulated and demonstrated with programs, and that's why it started attracting the various researchers and scientists, and that's why in 60s the symbolic approach become more and more popular. Again, approaches based on cybernetics or neural networks were pushed into the background. Okay, so when symbolic approach became more and more popular, slowly the focus on the cybernetics and neural network was shifted. So it becomes some outdated, or not outdated, I would say that it went into the background, and people are not focusing because of the cost and those issues, and they move to symbolic approaches. And this becomes more and more popular in 1960s and 70s. So basically what we understood from this particular slide, that because of the cost, the cybernetics and brain simulator approaches were seems to be expensive and people are not focusing on those, then we shifted to symbolic approach, especially in 1950s when there is a large usage of digital computers, and at different universities the research work started, and it became more and more popular in 1960s. And at early 70s, most of the work was focused on symbolic approaches, and therefore the work related to cybernetics or neural network was pushed back into the uh, some box, or we can say in the background. But again, after 70s, it is also observed that the symbolic approach is also not sufficient. So again, this particular problem is observed because simple things, for example, as I mentioned, the pick and place operation. So one robot is there, one workstation is there. So what that robot will do, it will pick the component, it will choose the shortest path, and it will place to another workstation. So some of those modeling and simulation can easily be done with symbolic approaches. But when we talk about human cognitive level or human perception or recognizing certain patterns, then in that case, it is very difficult to implement the symbolic systematic approach. And therefore, slowly, the focus was shifted from symbolic approach to sub-symbolic approach. And researchers from related field, especially from robotics, and they started rejecting the symbolic AI. They started, but still it is in use. And instead of complete rejection of symbolic approach, people went to the sub-symbolic approach and focused on the basic engineering problem that would allow robots to move and survive. Their work revived the non-symbolic viewpoint of the early cybernetics research in 1950s and reintroduced the use of control theory in AI. So what we can see here, early days cybernetics brain simulation started. Slowly it went into the background and symbolic approach become more and more popular. But again, in order to simulate the complex behavior, it is found that symbolic approach is not sufficient. So sub-symbolic approach become a more popular. And when we compare the symbolic and sub-symbolic approach, then you can see the both approaches covers a lot of things, and there are so many tools and techniques developed in symbolic approaches and sub-symbolic approach. For example, in sub-symbolic approach, machine learning, deep learning, neural networks, Bayesian interface, graphical model. Again, in case of symbolic approach, so knowledge representation, reasoning, verification, and related tools were developed. And over the period of time, it is also observed that there is a hybrid approach and needs to be developed, which combines the symbolic approach as well as sub-symbolic approach. So you can see there is a overlapping area, and in overlapping area, so there are also new tools and techniques developed. Okay, so this is how the new era started, where there is a need of hybrid approaches. So from example point of view or presentation point of view, in symbolic uh, approach, what we do, we use various input symbols. So when we look at the input symbols in the figure, what we can see, each and every symbol has some meaning, and we understand that what exactly the meaning of the symbol is. And by using the input symbol, we also show the symbolic processor. and its meaning is that based on the inputs the process is carried out, and when the process will be completed, then the whatever product or the system will be developed, that is shown as a output symbol. So instead of showing the physical whole system, if we present a input symbol, process symbol and output symbol in a systematic way, then one can understand easily how that process is going on. We can take one example of sugar industry. So when you visit a sugar industry, then a lot of process are going on, and it is a very big industry, and even if you spend a whole day there, it will become very difficult for you to understand how exactly the process goes on from the sugar cane to uh, sugar, how that conversion takes place. But if we use a symbolic approach, and if you visit the engineer's cabin, then there is a big outline of the plant is presented, and so many symbols are used, and through that outline only within an hour we will get an idea where the raw material comes, and step by step how it is processed in order to convert that sugar cane into the sugar. So this is a symbolic approach. But in some symbolic approach from figure itself, you can see that it's not like a complete symbolic approach. It's just like a neurons which we generally study and which is there in our mind, and the way the information is processed in our neurons, how the information is collected and how it is transferred, how different electric or other kind of signals are generated and transferred, so that information will be transferred from one place to another. For example, when you touch hot body, the signals are received at the fingers and it is transferred to your brain very short time. So the way our brain and our neurological system works, so similar kind of approaches comes under sub-symbolic approach. So you can see the simplified version of the sub-symbolic approach. And in graph theory or in even in fault analysis, we can use sub-symbolic approach. So there are certain similarities with symbolic approaches and sub-symbolic approaches, but generally the simple processes can be understood by using symbolic approaches. But when it will become complex problem, for example behavior of the human intelligence or human, or the process of transformation of the information from in our body, so that is simulated by using some symbolic
हॅलो
app.
सर.
Yes,
सर ते सब सिम्बॉलिक मध्ये कशाचं कॉम्बिनेशन असते नेमकं?
it is the combination of the symbols. For example, whatever symbols we see in symbolic approach, so those symbols are used, and along with that some notations would be there. For example, x1 would have some meaning, x2 have some meaning, and in the processor how that process would be carried out, that mathematics part will also be there. So in sub-symbolic approaches, the symbols that we use in symbolic approach, it is used, and along with that mathematics come into the picture, and the way it is presented is also very much complicated. So you can see in the symbolic example, a step-by-step process is given, and it seems that it is one way process, that is input to processor and processor to output. However, in case of sub symbolic approach, it is both side communication would be there, or there may be different branches through which information can be processed. So this is the basically different difference between the symbolic approach and sub symbolic approach. Am I answer to your question again?
येस सर, पण ते सब तुम्ही जे सर्कल केलं ते सिम्बॉल आहे काय? मग ते x1 x2 नोटेशन आहे, तर मग ते सर्कल केलेलं सिम्बॉल आहे का?
Exactly. So this is,
ओके ओके.
yeah, this is the simplified version, and again this is just an introductory part. Okay, in upcoming units when we will be discussing with various examples, so at that time we will be using the symbolic approach and sub symbolic approach as well, and at that time you will come to know how it is used. So here just you need to understand the fundamental difference between the symbolic approach and sub-symbolic approach. Is it fine?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Okay, then. Okay, so after symbolic and sub-symbolic approach, then statistical approaches come into the picture. Because in sub-symbolic or symbolic approach, what we understood how the processes are taken, how the processes are carried out, how different components are linked together, how different processes are linked together. But it is also essential to measure the performance of the system as well, because if we understood the conversion of sugar cane to sugar from a complete layout or the system, that is fine, we understood the process. But how effectively that sugar cane is converted into the sugar, that process need to be measured. And every time there will not be any equation that a plus b is equal to c. So a lot of data is generated. For example, daily input of sugarcane, and out of which how it is processed, especially at the crusher, what rate that sugar is crushed and the semi-solid fluid is transferred to the next step. So a lot of data is generated. Or even we can talk about electric motor. If we put a sensor, let's say piezoelectric sensor on the footing of the electric motor, then you will see that there are continuous vibrations, and every time the frequency of vibration may not be same frequency and amplitude, so continuously it is changing over the period of time. Again, if we increase the load on the electric motor, again vibration level changes. So a lot of data is generated, and based on that data it is required to draw some valuable conclusion. So, and we need to monitor the process. So in 1990s, the statistical methods are also incorporated with AI, which was already there, but again it is introduced in with the new approaches in order to measure the behavior of the system. Just I mentioned that when you want to manufacture the shaft of 20 millimeter diameter, and if you manufacture such 1000 shafts, then you will see a distribution like this. Okay, you are expecting 20 millimeter, but you will not get 20 millimeter diameter because of the variation in the system, because every time the tool will not behave in the same manner, because continuously the material also removed from the tools, and because of that you will not get the 20 millimeter diameter. Again, the feed depth of cut, it also changes, and because of that the overall vibration level also changes. Again, in spindle there are bearings, so the life of the bearing decreases over the period of time. So again, such thousands of components are there, and overall behavior of all the components will decide what would be the diameter of the shaft. And even though theoretically you are expecting 20 millimeter, but you will get a spread of the distribution, and from this distribution you can make several decisions. For example, what is the accuracy of the machine? So that will be based on its accuracy, the type of component to be manufactured can be decided. For example, you are manufacturing a simple shaft which is used in, let's say, a hand driven machine. So in that case, the tolerances will not play an important role. But if you are designing a shaft which is used, very small shaft which is used in wristwatch, okay, where the accuracy plays a very important, then in that case you will take a decision whether the design tolerances are can be achieved with the help of a given machine. So such type of decision making, especially related to design and operations, can be taken. Again, you can take an example of electric motor. Suppose you set a target that for the vibration level. If vibration goes beyond certain level, okay, then we can say that some maintenance activity is to be carried out. So in order to quantify that value, that above and below acceptable and disacceptable, not acceptable region, so statistics come into the picture. And 1990s it become more and more popular. Again, we can take one more example. For example, you are manufacturer of a lithium ion battery. Okay. And again, while the manufacturing of that lithium ion battery, there is a manufacturing processes. So from a given lot, suppose 100 batteries are there. And theoretically, you are saying that the life of the battery is 40,000 kilometer, or let's say 2 years. Then all batteries will not last for the same. Some of the batteries will go for 4 years, some of the batteries will last for 1 year, some of the will go for 1.5 year. So that manufacturing process will affect the quality of the battery, and ultimately it will decide the life of the battery. So suppose the batteries are continuously manufactured, and in a day 1000 batteries are manufactured. So you want to predict on an average what would be the life of the battery, because there is a huge variation: 4 year, 1 year, 1.5 year, for some of the batteries 2 year, 18 months, and so on. So a lot of data would be there. And for 1000, for a lot of 1000 batteries, how to calculate the life of the battery, what is the average life? So based on that data, we apply the statistical methods. We use the best probability distribution, and by using that best probability distribution, we say that the for the given lot of 1000 batteries, the average life is 2.5 years. Okay. Again, through testing, you will come to know if there are any batteries who fails immediately means in 1 month or 2 months. So based on that, you can also make a decision whether to test the battery before it is actually handed over to the customer. So the symbolic approach, sub-symbolic approach, and statistical approaches. So that integrated approaches are nowadays becoming a more and more popular, and therefore today we talk about the integrated approach, where we use various symbols, where we use the sub-symbolic approach, and in order to measure the performance of the system, we go for statistical approach. And when it comes at a system level, then it will become integrated approach. So some of the part is already mentioned here. I will not go in detail of that, so you can read it, because most of the approaches we will be discussing in our upcoming units. The ultimate goal of unit number 1 is to provide you all the basic details, so that you will get some kind of idea what is symbolic approach, what is sub symbolic approach, what is statistical approach, what is cybernetics, what is machine learning, what is supervised machine learning, and so on. And when you go into the unit number 2, 3, or 4, 5, then you will come to know what is exactly the mathematical uh, task is there that you need to follow in order to execute the system. Again, the last point we will cover, that is related to deep learning, and then we will stop here. Okay. So as I mentioned that integrated approach become a more popular, and it includes symbolic approach, some symbolic approach, and statistical approach as well. And that lead to deep learning. So in one of the class we discussed that artificial intelligence is a very broad term, and machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. So inside AI there would be ML, and deep learning is a subset of machine learning. So in 50s, AI become a branch of engineering. Then slowly in 80s, the focus is shifted to machine learning. And again in 90s and 20th century, we are shifting towards deep learning. And in future, maybe a futuristic technology will come. And again, in each and every part, data plays a very important role. And for analyzing the data, statistics plays an important role. So deep learning is an approach to machine learning, and it is one that focuses on learning data representation rather than task specific algorithm. It makes use of deep neural networks, just like the neurons, how it works in our brain. So when we look at the neurons in our brain, then again it is divided or subgrouped into different components. For example, neuron, cell body, nucleus, and so on, axons, and so on. So the processes and the electrical signals are continuously passed, and that electrical signals ultimately the communicates the information. And deep learning exactly focuses here. So whatever the processes are carried out inside the brain, how the signals are transferred, how the one signal is converted into electrical signal, and how it is transferred to another location. At other location, the again the electrical signals are converted into other form. So similarly, the deep learning approaches, for example, neural networks. So there are certain input layers. For example, suppose you are monitoring the COVID. So input could be the fever level, cough level, then the headache, and so many input parameters would be there. So they are considered as inputs. So based on all these input parameters, there is a model where the information is processed. And based on the input parameter, it is concluded whether it is a COVID, or it is a viral fever, or it is a other kind of fever. So all the information is processed and the root cause is identified. And based on that, output could be the result of the process. For example, this is the COVID, or result could be it is not a COVID, it is just a viral fever, or it is not a dengue or viral, it is a other kind of fever. So that can be the output, or it can also be linked with the medicine as well. So if we have a dengue, then you can take these medicines. So this is how, when a lot of input nodes are there, then in order to process all that input information, a hidden layers are prepared. And there are number of hidden layers which processes the input information based on your machine learning algorithm. And once that information is processed, instead of a single output, multiple output layers will be there which provide you certain output information. And this is how the deep learning approach works. So in upcoming units also we will see what do you mean by input layers. For a simple example, how it is modeled by using the process machine learning model, and how to interpret the output. For example, if you want to manufacture the shaft of, let's say, 20 mm, but actually from the sample analysis you found that it is 19.5 mm mean value. So 19.5 is a number. From that you need to conclude something, that whether the 19.5 millimeter shaft can it be used for a given application or not. So that is your conclusion. Similarly, suppose from your health it is observed that a mild level COVID is there, then what type of treatment should be provided, and accordingly decisions are made. So that's it from my side for today's session. If you have any question, you can ask.